Tim, we're talking about elevate, the word elevate, and kind of our word of the year. What does the word elevate mean to you in operations this year?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's really been the staple of our business for the last 20 months. We've been trying to and looking to elevate ourselves. And so for us, like this hit the target.
I like it. It's a verb. It's an action word that's immediately going to call upon us to lift each other's spirits, status, skill level.
I think the word elevate is just a constant reminder for us that we can't accept the status quo.
It's the ultimate underlying current for us at operations is we always want to be trying to elevate our business.
And really just work together to help us all level up.
We have to be better today than we were yesterday and continue to be better on our journey.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
I love that it's the underlying current of the journey you've been on and a continuation of the last 20 months. So it's going to be a natural kind of continuation for you guys. And I'm wearing, I don't know if you see this, my operations pullover, DC of the year, and I've got my Bruins, Falcons, and Otters represented, those identities. So we had a lot of great initiatives and rollouts and grand openings and things like that, and first time evers and social media involvement with the word elevate in operations last year. How are you thinking about elevating within operations how are you thinking about elevating your team this year?
Yeah, great question. Something that we went through during our planning process in August. We usually start our process with thinking about the next year, and 4 real major initiatives came out. Well, I'll say 5. 5 real major initiatives came out of it. Number 1 was how can we elevate our relationships interdepartmentally across the organization? And so we've got our DC leaders. So, Chris and Mike and Tonia and some of their direct reports are going out into the retail stores and saying hello and how you doing. And we're the ones that, are helping you. And if you have an opportunity, reach out to us. Here's my mobile number. So that's the one thing that we've started to elevate this year. One thing I wanted to mention was our best practices team. So that started last year by Tonia and James carried it for a little bit. And now Drew Matlick carries it. And that team is comprised of all the different departments inside of Broad River that are working towards one goal. Making sure that the guest is happy, making sure that the pieces that they've ordered are perfect, and making sure that they're staying in the home. And that team has done an absolutely incredible job. They have reduced our returns in half.
Wow.
From when it was last year. So, kudos to that team. And then something new that Carl and I were talking about towards the end of last year was, could we improve the communication between the multi-department leaders and then the operations team? So we've now started a bi-weekly call with them, working through their opportunities and their challenges. And then lastly, one of the new things we actually went out yesterday was we use BrightSign across the distribution centers to present information, KPIs, different things to our memory makers, and we highlight an hourly memory maker at each DC every week. And so we wanted to bring that into the currents. It was something that Heather Greenman and I were talking about is how do we elevate the enterprise's understanding of some of the employees that are, putting in the effort and working their tails off every single day to make sure our customer success is high. And so we just launched that yesterday, and our first 3 hourly memory makers are out there. And I've already heard some great rumblings this morning about it. And so we're excited to really elevate our interdepartmental communication and understanding. And then we'll get into the 4 ops things later if you have any questions.
Well, that's you really hit on branching out. You said operations, we're going to go out into the field. We're not going to be siloed. So that's number 1, interpersonal relationships. We're going to have these cross-departmental calls with our regional leaders. We're going to listen on best practices and talk about ways we can improve. And then we're going to have what we celebrate internally, and we're going to cascade those out through the avenues we have that are company-wide and let them get company-wide recognition, just not departmental recognition.
So the 5th one is really a compensum of 4 different internal projects that we're doing operationally. Number 1 is what we're calling inventory profitability. Mm-hmm. So olden days, it's write-offs, it's inventory shrink, it's, we're not being good stewards of the inventory that the company invests in. And so we wanted to elevate the understanding of that for 23. And so we came up with a term called inventory profitability.
I like that phrase.
Yeah, which everybody touches, right? From the employee that unloads it to the cycle counters to the inventory. Are we being as profitable as possible with the investment that we put into the inventory? And so it's a new term. It's part of DC of the Year Season 2. We're trying to elevate everyone's understanding of what the business means to them. And so really, really excited about that one. I may go a little long-winded on the next one just because it means so much to us. And
I'm enthralled. I'm listening.
James may mention it when he comes on, but we've always had great visibility into our labor dollars or the headcount that is required in order to keep the business strong. And James invented Infinity a couple years ago, and we still use it today. We've tacked on a couple of extra things to it, around span of control and just ensuring that the leaders can see what their budget is as the month goes on. And so, it's been a spectacular tool for us. But the other part of our business, which we really have not had visibility to, unless it's end of month and here's the report, is our non-labor expenses. So our invoicing that we're spending on, or the credit card expenses that we're spending. We really haven't had real-time visibility to those things. It's all lag measure. It's all, okay, let's read about the story that occurred that month because we don't have any visibility to it. And so 30 days ago, James and I were talking about it, like, how can we do better? How can we elevate our ability to write the story as the month goes along?
To be more proactive.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so James partnered with Bill, and in April, we had some opportunities, number one, with invoicing. And so, as we were rowing down the river, we came to invoicing. And so how do we figure that out? And so I got to give a lot of credit to Sarah Sanchez, who found Device Magic, which has been a great partner for us. It's actually the beacon system that we use for end of shift reporting. That's all on the back of Device Magic. And we went to Device Magic again and said, all right, can we solve this problem? And so they came up with an online form. And so as we pay bills, they go into the online form, and then Lee and Harold's team gets that stuff into the cloud. So now James can, every week, download what's been spent. And then as we were rolling down the river, we came across credit card expenses. Didn't have any visibility to that. How do we solve for that? And with the help of April and the finance team, now James can plug right into our Wells Fargo system, and we can see those expenses. So now we've gone from no visibility to weekly visibility of how much we've spent, and given us the ability to write the story as the month or to white out stuff and go back and fix and make some changes. So it's going to be, talk about elevating our expense control. This is a huge one for us in 2023. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, well, when you know the score, when you measure it, and when you measure it in real time or as close to real time as possible, you can inflect and influence and impact change there, as opposed to like, well, we're spending what we're spending. We don't really know. But now you can set goals, parameters, and see how you're tracking to it. That's really good.
Yeah. And then two other things. There's Cherie's working on a bunch of things. One of the things we're looking at is inventory profitability. Can we put goals on that from an inventory perspective? But one of the biggest projects that Cherie and Colin Michael have been working on is what we call modus operandi, which is basically our documentation for day-to-day business. And when we opened that can Q3 of last year, it was, all right, well, what's the process, how we want to do it? And I think the biggest impact or the most important thing that came out of that deliberation, that session, was we've got to think about, and I think we thought about this last year when we did Thrive, and having kind of in the image, having people in different positions and they're coming from different places. And we piggybacked off of that, and we used that for the documentation to say, hey, not everybody's going to come into us either having great the ability to understand, okay, here's step one, here's step two, here's step three. Maybe we need to have more of a broader view, or maybe we need to have a smaller view or a deeper view. And so that led to 4 levels of documentation. So we have really the highest level, which is really just going to be a video, but it's customer comes into our store, supply chain happens, furniture is delivered to the home. It's going to be a video, and we're going to be able to use it for multiple things. Kate and I were talking about it. It can be a recruitment tool. We'll use it as an onboarding tool, but it gives everybody kind of a macro level of who Broad River is. And then you go one layer below that, and you get the department level. So inside of your department that you're working in, you'll get, here's the day. Here's the expectation for the day. Here's what your other fellow memory makers are going to be working on. So it gives them that level. And then you go one level below that, and it's what we call day in the life. And it's here, you individually, here's your expectations for the day. Here's what our expectations of the day are. And then you get into the fourth level, which is really tactically based. Here's the steps in storage you need to follow. Here's the steps in DT you need to follow, or any other IT, spreadsheet technology we're using. And so we thought by building our documentation into those 4 different levels, we're going to be able to at least meet somebody where they are every single day.
That's really good. This is like the easiest interview because I don't really even have to ask any questions. You're just rolling here. This is great. I asked our retail leaders the other day about, because work is changing at retail, and you can't just, we used to have this quote, live by the door, die by the door, meaning you can't just sit passively and wait for guests to come in, and you have to be more proactive. You have to prospect, you have to call your guests, you have to follow up. And so I said, well, ask our folks to make sure they understand, what does it mean to come to work? What are the expectations? And so as you think about this question, what does it mean to come to work in operations for each of your departments? Do you see that changing or elevating, or are you trying to bring more awareness to that? Like it's not just like operating a forklift, or it's not just receiving trucks. There's other aspects, and there might be KPIs we're trying to hit. We might be trying to make sure this piece is profitable. We're trying to make sure it's going out to Mrs. Jones or Mrs. Smith correctly and in perfect condition, and need to make sure that it's being loaded correctly, and that it doesn't come back and boomerang back to us as a return.
That's right.
So what does it mean to come to work in operations? Is that something that could parlay into this?
Absolutely. Our foundation, I'll talk about the pillars, but our foundation is what we call customer success. Everything that we do is trying to improve the customer success. Really, it's just the customer experience, right? Did it come in the way that it was supposed to come? And so then we kind of back ourselves into that. Did it arrive when they expected it to arrive? And we back ourselves into that. So really for us foundationally, it's the customer experience, and then all these things are built from there. And so, we have 4 pillars every year, and I talked about this on the previous one, but I'll bring it up again.
Go for it.
We have 4 pillars in ops, and it's our integrity is a pillar, the unity between DCs, between individuals, and then do we do it enthusiastically? Do we have a lot of fun doing it? And we always save the 4th pillar for the word of the year. And so this year,
that's good.
And this year we have Elevate, and last year we had Thrive. And so those 4 pillars on the foundation of customer success is really kind of how we drive all of our decisions and all the things that we're trying to do to be successful here at Broad River.
So if you had to pull 2 or 3 of the top initiatives that you're going to elevate in operations in 2023, what would those be? Like, what are you most enthusiastic about, or what do you think is going to have the biggest impact or leverage? As we look at our department leaders to be entrepreneurs in the business this year, and to really be an entrepreneur for your business, which you clearly are, and you're operating at a high capacity in so many levels with your team, and attacking it and enrolling both what the company's initiatives are, and taking that back out into the field. But what are you like most excited about? You mentioned breaking down returns and this inventory profitability and this whole customer success piece. But what 2 or 3, 4 projects do you have that are like, this is what we're going to hang our hat on? They're going to really move the needle for us in 2023 to elevate.
Yeah. So the one I haven't mentioned yet is, what we call learning and development, and Heather Greenwood and Courtney and Tonia and Sheree are kind of helping us with that. But that L&D really ties back to Modus. We've got to get Modus operandi. We got to get Modus done, because that's going to be, that documentation is going to be the linchpin for creating a retail 101 type of environment for our ops teams, creating an onboarding ability for us. And then even taking it further than that and say, when we promote somebody into a supervisor, to a manager, there should be a program that kind of comes with it. It shouldn't just be the expectation, oh, you're good here, you'll be great here. No, we should provide, because the jobs are different. And so we need to be able to provide for that. So we're really excited about the learning and development side of it, the lunch and learns that we're going to start doing. But Modus is really the linchpin of that. We've got to get that started.
Modus is the foundation that you've got to set before you can really go fast.
That's right.
And cascade it into other areas like supervisor, manager development, leadership development. Anything else that you're really excited about in operations this year? I know you've got the DC of the Year competition, season 2 you mentioned. I know you've got the River Line, which maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that is on social media.
Sure.
Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I'll touch on Riverline. So again, we did a lot of LinkedIn social media things last year. Just either we're celebrating something or we're celebrating someone. We just celebrated Tito Otero's 10 years with Broad River, which is an absolute incredible story. If anybody checks it out, because he was on Stories from the River as well last year.
He was in the fall. Yep.
Yeah, and his story is, to me, really speaks to who we are. The art of the possible, the different roles that he's had, and just he's a great employee in a sense that if there's a need, he's going to fill it for you. And so we have a different need today, and this is where he sits today, and he adds so much value to the business. But really, really just speaks to the culture that we've built inside of Broad River, with you and Manny and those before you. But Riverline. Yes. Thank you. So we wanted to elevate social media, right? So we've been doing posts, and James Olette and Sarah Sanchez, and there was probably a little bit of pushing for me, like, what can we do better? Like, what can we do differently? And so, one of the original thoughts was like a cash, if anybody's ever seen a cash cab, and you kind of have some contestants and you ask them some questions. And so we started from there, and then we're like, well, okay, what do the questions need to be? And they need to be about Broad River. They need to be about the culture. They need to be about Decoy. We need to help make sure, not just with the bright sign and just, with our starter shifts, that we're doing something fun and exciting when it comes to Broad River. And so, James brought out the Price is Right microphone, and we just finished episode 2, so we'll be launching that soon with our memory makers, and there's prizes attached to it, and we're just trying to do some more fun things so everybody outside that really enjoys being in this culture can kind of see all the awesome things we do. We service customers, and we have fun doing it.
Awesome. Well, you're doing a great job. We super appreciate you. Thanks for coming back on the podcast, Tim. I'm sure this won't be your last time with us on Stories from the River.
I love being here, Charlie. Thank you.
So leveling up and lifting each other's spirits. So now when you connect that to what does Elevate mean for Broad River in 2023, what do you think?
Well, I feel in a nice sequential order to 2022's Thrive. With COVID in 2020 and 2021, we needed to be united and lock arms, show our grit, and move forward together. During the pandemic, it was certainly important for us to be on that united front and be in unison. In 2022, as we came through the back end of COVID, Thrive had us prioritize getting our mind, body, and soul back in alignment. And now that we have this Thrive baseline in our lives for this year, working towards goals that are just beyond our current reach, and goals that push us to elevate ourselves, keeping in mind the lessons of yesterday.
That's great. And we did have some successes last year. I mean, we were best places to work in furniture,
Absolutely.
One of top 10 companies, Chairman's Award winner for 2022. So we've got a Thrive baseline, like you said.
Thrive baseline.
And you guys had a lot of successes in operations. So what does Elevate mean for you and the team in ops this year?
For our team, it's really to be on the offensive, to improve.
That's interesting because ops is sometimes called the defense.
That's right. But I think that while even defenses need to be aggressive and need to challenge themselves to be intellectually better, to be more emotionally aware of each other and how we're working together. And then, taking these the goals of improving our capabilities and improving the gel of our team. So it's really a call to arms. You cannot lower the mountain, therefore we must elevate ourselves. And really just saying, all right, we can do this ourselves. We can stick together and we can focus in as a team to reach new heights, new goals, and really try and set the bar even higher for the next year.
Well, that's some really good stuff there. It's a call to arms, and you can't lower the mountain, so you may as well elevate your teams. So what are you looking to do specifically in operations? What are some of the projects or initiatives that you're taking on to be more excellent or to elevate in 2023?
We're trying to improve real-time information. That is really just a main focus for us, and we're continuing to expand our and invest in our Beacon program that we partner with Device Magic. So we're trying to say, hey, how do we get information in real time coming to the cloud? And then my partner Sarah Sanchez and I, how do we grab that and how do we turn it into valuable reports or tools that our team can then quickly assess and read or work with in order to be more efficient? So we're trying to speed up the pace of what we're seeing as what's going on, and then turning it into what can we do with that information to either stay in line or improve ourselves.
I mean, our reports are so robust and so sophisticated now. And so I love, you talked about raise the intelligence of the organization and via the reporting. Earlier, you mentioned the emotional elevation, emotional awareness, so unpack that one a little bit. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that, look, there's a lot going on in today's world. So you've got plenty going on personally. We got a lot of goals and things that we're trying to hit professionally. So you've got all that mixing in, and people can be pulled one way or another, or just go through some turmoil. But I think that if we know each other as a team, emotionally in a intimate way, so to speak, then we'll know when someone's having a bad day, when someone needs a pat on the back, or they need a quick note just saying, hey, just keep it up, or someone that's really passionate about a project and you know they're about to bring it across the line, and just to give them a quick note or a phone call or just something to just encourage them to get that across the line. You're almost there. Mm-hmm. Great job. Keep it up. So I think that when I'm speaking about things as far as emotional intelligence as well, it's understanding that we're all human. We're going to go through those ups and downs, but we're going to go through it together. And I think that we need to be aware of each other and how to take care of each other better.
I love that. It's you don't hear that a lot in ops because it's very binary. It's digits and numbers and reports, and it's black and white. And you're saying, no, we're going to elevate the human component.
Yes. It was one of the reasons why.
Or said another way, we're going to bring humanity to ops in a bigger, more profound way.
It's the first thing that Sarah and I are thinking about when we're looking at designing a tool or something that's going to help someone or a report. It's not that tool or that report. It's who's at the end of it, and then start from there. What do they currently understand? What are their capabilities? Can we train these things? If not, okay, well, if we're not in that space this year, great. Well, then how can we provide it for them? How can we cater it so that it's easier for them to understand or to use? So that's really where the human part comes. So that's nothing runs without us.
You're putting
the humanity.
You're putting
aspect.
A human at the a user, a real person at the end of the report. I hear a little bit of Zach Mercurio, and having been someone who's on the purpose activation committee, where he says, put a human at the end of the supply chain where it really comes to life. And you're saying, well, I'm not just creating a report for a report's sake. I'm creating a report for a person who matters, and we need to know what's going on in their life and how this report's going to help them, what they're going to do with it, how they're going to do their job better.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to take care of firstly their department in Broad River, but also, I mean, that's their career. That's how they're taking care of their family. That's how they're taking care of their community. So that's what matters is helping that person have an amazing day, an amazing week, an amazing quarter, and just really giving them every piece of information and every tool that we can in order to succeed. And I think by caring about them in that manner, the middle part, which is the work of the reporting or the tools that we create, that becomes fun. That's why I love what I do. And I love doing it every day.
Yeah. It sounds like it becomes a culture that's a differentiated place to come to work.
Absolutely.
And there's no work from home in ops. I mean, you have to come to work. Yeah.
That's right. So it's, but it's also an understanding that and having gone through years of being in many of those positions and many of those shoes, and what does it feel like to come to work every day when it's not always, it takes the pandemic when okay, folks are at home. Nope, you're coming in. We're getting this done, and saying to them, hey, you know what? You are important, and you really matter, and we're just trying to take care of you.
So Ops has been hitting on some major records in revenue and targets and KPIs. And I'm sure you got several more of those in mind for 2023. But I've also heard about this thing called Riverline that you're spearheading. with your Bob Barker Price is Right megaphone.
I'm trying. You know,
microphone.
It's fun. It's fun, and to see people's faces light up when they just see something different for the day.
Yeah.
When you come around the corner and you say, "Hey, would you like to play a trivia game?"
Yeah.
There's some apprehension at first, but then it's a pretty quick turnaround to sure.
Yeah.
And we've had so much fun just getting it off the ground.
Yeah.
We're working through microphone challenges. Those are our hurdle that Sarah and I are trying to get through right now because the environment's so loud. So the microphones want to pick up everything.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll go in and out. So we're working through the beginning stages of it. But it's been fun so far, and I think a success as far as, hey, yeah, we could do this. We're going to refine it a bit as we go, but we're going to keep pushing forward.
Well, novelty does keep work interesting and fresh and fun, and that's important in this day and age, obviously. Is there anything else you want to talk about from elevating in operations that you haven't already mentioned?
Just continuing our education. I know Sarah and I are looking forward to learning Power BI. I know that Harold Hampton has lined this up for in the coming month or two, just to pick up some new skills and see what we can do with that.
That'd be awesome. So
we're excited about that. And then it's always being open-minded to new technology or new methods, new suggestions. We have to stay open-minded and be ready to be flexible and pivot because it's an ever-changing world and we got to keep up. So,
well, I can't wait to see how you guys continue to elevate. I'll be subscribing and listening in on the Riverline and all the other KPIs and Power BI tools. Thank you for helping our team elevate and helping our memory makers win at retail and in all various departments, home delivery, customer experience, and in operations. You guys are doing a phenomenal job.
Well, it has been fun, and we look forward to the future. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And why is it right for Broad River for 2023?
Well, Charlie, I think coming off of the back of an absolutely incredible year, it's easy to think, oh, we can coast through this one. But that's not the reality. Our team members, our memory makers, they expect better. Our guests expect better, and we have to rise to the occasion every step of the way. So I'm very excited to elevate in 2023 for all of our stakeholders, our memory makers, our guests, our executives. We have a lot of work to do, and it's a good reminder that we're still at the base of this mountain.
The base of the mountain. Why is it easy to just think that we can just coast? Why does that kind of notion set in?
Well, I think when you coming off of the back of a really strong winning year, there's this desire to kind of enjoy the fruits of your labors, right? And I think it's easy to kind of get into that and thinking that what made you great this last year is going to make you great again this year. But we all know that's not the case. We have to continue to evolve. Our guests, their expectations change, what they need from us changes, and we need to continuously, and our competitors are continuing to grow and strive for better, so we have to rise to the occasion.
And that's kind of like a skill or a muscle that you just kind of continue to maintain and exercise and work out. So and I know that I know this is so active in operations. There's so many things going on every single day. I feel like every day is a day of meaning or something. Speaking of meaning, what does the word elevate mean in operations for you and the leadership team in ops?
Oh, so we have a lot that we're working on this year in order to elevate and make sure that we're continuing to improve year over year. We started out last year with really honing in on our metrics, and now we have a solid platform for which to base our performance. So it's really for us about how do we get, it's easy to go from bad to good. Going from good to great is quite a different stretch. So really putting our finite focus to the areas that are going to have the most impact and continuing to expand technologies. We were in Chicago for the last 3 days kind of exploring some really cool technology and just figuring out ways to continue to enhance control costs is always big in the operations warehousing world. So ways to automate some things and make life easier for our memory makers and perform better for our guests.
Well, making life easier hits on the memory maker experience cornerstone. for our guests hits on the customer experience cornerstone. But tell us about this Chicago trip. Where'd you go, and what was that for?
So we went to the ProMat convention that was hosted in Chicago, and it's basically one of the largest conventions for distribution, warehousing, and manufacturing technologies in the world. So we were able to see a lot of different technologies. I mean, I was like awestruck by the fact that they have drones that can like inventory your building. It was so cool. Total geek out moment for me.
That is cool.
And then seeing all of the robotics, which aren't necessarily a great fit for our business, but are like instrumental in the manufacturing world and play a huge role for manufacturing and reducing associate injury and things of that nature. Why have people do something you can have a robot do much safer, right? So we networked, we explored. There was a lot of technology surrounding metrics and how we really hone in on our KPIs and dashboarding systems. So we have a lot of calls to schedule over the next few months to really do a deep dive into some of those.
Love it. So I'm sure you've already got some things on your big board for how you are looking to elevate in home delivery and ops, along with James and Tim and the team and Cherie. What are some specific ways that you're looking to elevate within the department in 2023?
So for home delivery, I have a couple projects going on, one of which launches next week. So Brian Deckelneck, myself, and Tim Subkowiak have really been partnering along with our partners at Riverstone Logistics to determine how to best facilitate deliveries to our customers while controlling transportation costs and really honing in on how we make sure that the bulk of our resources are where they need to be. So what we've done is we've zoned out our footprints in each of the DCs, and we're starting in Four Oaks to understand the return on investment there, and also because they have one of the largest footprints. So we've zoned out our deliveries, which gives us the ability to be extremely flexible and reactive to fluctuations in our sales areas. So say, for instance, Carrie is having a really bang out month and Raleigh is not. We can divert resources there in real time with a minimal of 2 to 3 day turnaround to make sure that we're sending our carriers to the areas of the highest density. And we can make those moves pretty much instantaneously with minimal disruption. And we've talked to our partners in stores about designing a utility that will make that much easier for us to do going forward. And they've been able to come through for us, another premier partner that we work with. So we'll be doing that. And I see so many future gains from that technology.
So let me just pull the thread on that. So you see financial for cost savings, it hits the financial cornerstone, and then you see elevated guest experience or customer experience from being able to respond to our guests who need delivery faster. We're continuing to accelerate speed to customer. Okay, you said there was a couple things. What's the other one?
Yeah, so in conjunction with our partners at Riverstone, we are really looking at how do we, I think I mentioned on the podcast last time that guests are very forgiving. They understand that things happen. What makes the difference, what can make or break that situation is our response time to resolve their concerns. So in partnership with Riverstone, we're looking at same day, next day turnaround for customer resolution.
Wow.
So we do have the ability, we have, they've onboarded a lot of carriers, thankfully, and we now have the flexibility to do those things. So we have to work out some things about how we would invoice for that, but that's the next step for home delivery is Sunday next day.
It's more of those cornerstones, right? Innovation, which the first one hit as well, and get customer experience, and then the memory maker experience. Because if the memory makers in the stores don't have to take the calls from their guests who are upset that it's going to take a week or 2 weeks to turn around because we got it same day or next day, everyone's happy. So that's great. You're hitting on all those cornerstones. That's home delivery. What about in operations?
So in operations, we have a lot going on there too. Cherie has been working really hard in partnership. She really oversees our documentation and processes and then helps us with change management. So she's been really working hard gathering feedback from the SMEs in each of the DCs to document our current processes, but then also to brainstorm with them enhancements to our current process. So we're kind of automating how we make decisions about product that gets returned and whether or not we should invest our time into it to get it back to stock. Now, that's obviously the point. Inventory profitability is a big push for us this year. But this tool will help us make decisions as to where that product goes and improve product flow throughout the warehouse. She's also worked at length with our inventory control department and finance to really hone in on how we audit ourselves. And we do the full physical inventory. So we're trying to put a program into place that would eliminate the need for full physical
I heard about
inventories.
that. That's pretty impressive if we can do that.
Yeah. So we're all partnering on those types of things. And then obviously we have our Decoy 2 going on.
To remind our audience what Decoy is.
So DC of the Year last year, Four Oaks just crushed it. They absolutely crushed it. Celebrating with them was really just an amazing experience, despite the fact that I'm the leader of Fort Mill. So.
The Falcons right here, the logo. So I've got my pullover with the Otters, the Falcons, and the Bruins.
Yeah.
And so the Four Oaks Falcons won Decoy DC of the Year for 2022. So DC of the Year Encore, the season 2 is on this year.
Season 2 is going strong already. And I'm happy to report as the leader of Fort Mill that Fort Mill, we now have quarterly milestones, and Fort Mill was the first to achieve the quarterly milestone. So they're going to be getting a catered lunch in the coming weeks. So very excited for that. And we're going to keep that lead, guys, just so you know. Sure, they'll listen to the podcast. But yeah, I mean, we kind of took some learnings from last year, and we revised some KPIs and made adjustments. It's a continual learning process, and that's what elevating is really about. It's continuing to learn and take those learnings and adapt and transform. And I think we're firing on all cylinders there. We're not losing this momentum.
Well, you talked about going from good to great, and I love the idea, the visual of constant motion. This thing is in motion. You've also got like the River Line, which is something that's going on. I've seen, we talked about days of the year. There was Pie Day, which we just celebrated on 3/14. And how many pies in the face did you get?
I think I had 4.
Maybe we'll share those videos on this for some outtakes. I'm not sure. Okay. Well, a lot going on in ops. We've seen our returns come down below numbers we've ever had in our company's history, which is super, super exciting because returns add costs, create waste, erode margins. And so controlling that is phenomenal. We've seen our delivery metrics hit all-time CSAT records, right?
Yeah.
But you're probably not done. You're probably not done reducing returns, elevating customer satisfaction scores, which is super, super exciting. And I'm sure there's several other KPIs. There's just a couple, like pieces per hour might be one, or inventory integrity in the DCs might be another one. So anything else, Tonia, professionally or within operations or home delivery, before I ask you one final question here?
Yeah. So if we could just touch on the returns piece, because that's where the collaboration comes in, because every single person in our company has the ability to impact both returns and customer satisfaction, right? It's the way we sell it. It's the way we warehouse it. It's the way we deliver it. And, really how we pulled that off is we created a team of associates from different departments, different walks of life, right? And we put this challenge in front of them, and we said everybody contributes to this, and everybody owns a piece of it. And how do we work together to control our controllables and drive this number down? And we had. I kind of sponsored the team. James O started it. Drew Matlick took over the team recently, and it's really about setting it up and then getting out of their way, right? So that's what we did. James O at the helm, and then we gave it over to Drew, and we just kind of stepped out of his way, and we're there for support. But he has been just killing it, collaborating with teams, building relationships, driving results. And we've seen, we could say that returns is the inverse of our customer satisfaction rate. Now returns is pieces where customer satisfaction is customers, but you can see the results work simultaneously. So Drew has been instrumental in really driving that team and getting everybody on board and really helping everybody understand where they have a part to play, and kind of taking away some of the excuses that we had.
That's phenomenal. I almost want to ask you, where's the KPI going? But you know what? The other comment I'm going to make is we need to have Drew on the podcast.
You absolutely.
We got to have Drew. We got to bring Drew on and share his unique story. Okay, Tonia. As leaders, we have to go first, right? We have to model it. And so, when you think about this word elevate, how are you thinking about elevating personally in 2023?
So for me, Charlie, honestly, it's been a whirlwind since I moved down here. I came down here at the height of the housing market. I tried to, trying to find my house, and I got that done. And, then I had my friend who passed away, and just subsequently a month later, one of my dogs passed away, and it's just been a really rough year.
I'll say this, I was an athlete up through college, and so being in shape has always been important to me. It's lapsed a little bit, at least from where it used to be. And so I'm trying to put more intentionality into that.
We always have to be improving, and this last year I'm currently on week 47 in a row of working out 3 times or more. My goal is to get to 52.
And I started to realize, I've been rushing, to deal with this and to deal with that and be at work, and work has kind of been a safe place for me to not think about some of the other things. And I realized that I'd forgotten myself a little bit in all of that.
We're getting into baseball, and I've got two boys that play travel baseball, and I'm a coach of the 7-year-old. So just making sure that I'm supporting them.
I'm trying to blend what I do professionally and help it improve what I do personally, and vice versa, to blend those two a bit more.
So making time for myself, making time for my physical and my mental health, and spending time engaged in reading and learning, which is something that I absolutely love to do.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.